Lookism manhwa. Lookism is a South Korean webtoon written and illustrated by Park Tae-joon. It was first published online weekly on Naver WEBTOON since November 2014. The story revolves around a high school student who can switch between two bodies, one that is fat and ugly, and the other that is fit and handsome. Synopsis. Daniel Park, or Park Hyung-suk, is an unpopular, fat, ugly, and bullied high school student who is looked down upon by the entire student body. Being constantly bullied and harassed every day by Logan Lee, he often takes out his anger verbally on his mother and soon asks for a school transfer. Resolving to run away from his current problems and to start fresh, he moves to Seoul alone and plans to attend a new high school. However, a few nights before he goes to school, he obtains a new body which is tall, muscular, and extremely handsome. When one body is in use, the other falls asleep. His days are always split between the two bodies, his handsome form for the daytime and the original for the night. As Daniel lives his life with his two bodies, he begins to see just how much the world discriminates against people for being simply unattractive or different. Hence the titular name of Lookism. Through his original body, he experiences the world's discrimination and hate, while also seeing the kindness and special treatment through the other. His new body takes him through numerous life experiences, from becoming a miniature celebrity, a trainee for an entertainment company, and model for clothes. Once the day turns to night, however, this rosy dream turns back into a harsh reality of what the world really is after Daniel switches back to his original body. Significant arcs and side stories. The arcs put in order. Festival Chapters 21-27, J-High launches the Slave Auction, a fundraising event using male J-High students as slaves for female students to bid on. Daniel enters and breaks the record for the most expensive bid. And attempting to express his gratefulness to the winning bidder Crystal Choi, as the second-place bidder had been notorious for treating her slaves terribly, Gunn is impressed with Daniel's skills. The story progresses. The readers learn that Daniel in his handsome body is able to pick up new fighting techniques from his opponents just by watching them execute the moves. Furthermore, all the fighting skills and knowledge are able to be used by his original body, although not to the fullest extent due to his bad physique. Paprika TV Chapters 28-33. Paprika, a live streaming site, has made several J-High students addicted because the platform allows streamers to get paid by their fans. Zoe becomes a victim of a deranged fan who was obsessed to the point of stalking and attempted murder. Thanks to Daniel in his original body. Because of this, Zoe began developing feelings for Daniel in his original body. Yui, a top streamer who constantly flirted with Daniel in his handsome form, later develops feelings for Zach after he beat up her abusive boyfriend. Autumn Boot Camp Chapters 41-45. In this arc, J-High goes to a training camp. Heeman, a serial rapist under the pseudonym Zeus, works as their trainer and almost rapes Mira until another unattractive trainer and Zach save her by fighting off Heeman. This story spotlights another example of Lookism, as they never suspected Heeman because of his handsome figure, but most of the students immediately detested the ugly trainer, Won Bin, even though he was much more responsible and serious. Pavlov's Dog Chapters 46-50. Daniel returns to his hometown in his fat body, but is intercepted by another student at his original school. The student, who is now the prime target of Logan Lee, stalls Daniel until the bullies arrive at the scene. The student tells Daniel that Logan Lee enlisted him to be Daniel's replacement after he transferred, and hopes to escape Logan's harassment by drawing all his attention to Daniel. During the confrontation, Daniel manages to somewhat fight back against Logan's lackeys, but is overwhelmed with terror by seeing Logan himself. Logan steals Daniel's lucky $5 bill that was gifted by his mother, which causes Jay to fight against Logan to take back the money. The arc was named Pavlov's Dog, due to Daniel's PTSD of being violently bullied and his inability to stand up to Logan. Vasco's Youth Chapters 51-57, Jace recalls Vasco being bullied by their classmates in his childhood. After doodles were carved into Vasco's skin by a sadistic bully, Vasco developed agemophobia. One of the bullied victims pays Jung-gu to deal with the bullies. Later, Jace gets tattooed and persuades Vasco to also get tattoos to cover his scars and help him overcome his phobia. Through this experience, Vasco resolves to become stronger and protect the weak and makes this one of the core principles of his Burn Knuckles group. Abandoned Dog in You Chapters 58-62, Daniel and Crystal's first impressions of each other's good-looking bodies starts off sour, but they begin to bond when helping an abandoned dog. The dog later gave birth to 4 puppies, and Jay adopts the puppies despite his fear of dogs. Attention Whore Chapters 63-68, Tae-joon, desperate to earn followers and online influence, makes offensive jokes towards a gangster named Hoon-shin alongside his classmate Do Lee, one of Zaki's friends. A cat and mouse chase ensues, forcing Daniel, Vasco, and Zach to save the duo from Hoon-shin. Jae Hong and In You's Pups Chapters 69-70, a silent side story about Jay overcoming his fear of dogs. Fitting Model Chapters 71-72, on his way to school one day Daniel is scouted by giant shop run by a single man who has trouble selling his clothes due to having no models. Immediately after he is also scouted by O Clothing, a well-known fashion site, to be a fit model. The manager of O Clothing promises to pay Daniel many times more than what Giant Shop offered. He decides to think about both proposals first. During the night, Daniel in his original body and his mother are kicked out of O Clothing and badmouthed when trying to buy clothes from them because of Daniel's looks and his mother's poor appearance. After this altercation, he decides to model for Giant Shop. Dangerous Part-Time Job Chapters 75-80, Daniel, desperate for more money to aid his mother, unknowingly enters into an escort agency. When he realizes that the job entails using looks to scam women for money, he leaves the bar, which is later raided by the police. Unfortunately, during his work, Daniel mistakenly assumes alcohol for water, causing him to go to school intoxicated and act out of character, much to the chagrin of his classmates. Illegal Toto Chapters 83-90, Jiho Park is tricked by John, an admin of an illegal odds betting site, to gamble his money. Having befriended Daniel in his original body before, he begs him for help. The problem draws the attention of several other students, including Zach, Zoe, Jay, and later Crystal. Crystal contacts middle school computer genius Kuji, who helps resolve the issue. Jake Kim, the mastermind of Site, is imprisoned after being severely beat up by Gunn for using illegal methods to obtain money for the monthly quota of his crew. PTJ Entertainment Chapters 96-109, through his viral fame on Facebook, the Webtoons analog Facebook, Daniel is sought out by PTJ, a famous entertainment company. Daniel only agrees to attend the audition if Duke is allowed to come along with him. After the audition, the directors accept Daniel even though he only sang a simple rendition of the Korean anthem, while Duke is rejected, not because of his rap, but because of his looks. At night, Daniel calls the directors and states that he will work for PTJ if Duke is allowed in, and the heads cave in. Daniel and Duke are introduced to PTJC rank, which contain Oliver and Lassol, 2 people who had been perpetual trainees, and Jay's younger sister, Joy. Oliver and La Salle train the trio for their monthly evaluation. Throughout the story arc, it is revealed that 2 years ago, Aru and Oliver had been in love, but split apart as Aru's desperation to debut trapped her in a casting couch with a major investor of PTJ. When Aru's situation became worse, Crystal led the entire C-rank team to try and save Aru, but were unable to deal with investors' stock holdings over PTJ until Crystal's father, DG Gunn, and Ju were able to obtain a majority of the stocks and relegate the investor. The situation, Aru went clean, but went victimizing another producer. Daniel and Joy left the group. Stalker Chapters 113-120. Daniel becomes victimized by a psychotic Sassing fan and Crystal tries to save him. The two become closer to each other as they realize the kindness within the other, and the stalker is eventually arrested. However, she is released in the epilogue, but with a beautiful makeover. Troubled Transfer Chapters 123-126. To escape his debt to Jun-gu, Logan transfers to J-High and joins the comics department. After insulting Maya, Logan gets into three-way fight with both Vin-jin and Zack but manages to deal with the two at the same time. Vasco also arrives at the scene but Logan twists his ankle. Though his entrance is not only filled with violence, as Logan also develops feelings for Zoe when she states in a bit of a foggy manner that she doesn't mind unattractive people, and also when she gives him a pink band-aid to patch up a wound on his hand. But he ends up trying to fight Daniel out of jealousy after seeing Zoe with him and triggers the return of Daniel's PTSD, even though Daniel was in his muscular and handsome body. Cult Chapters 132-138. Side story with the younger Zack, Mira, and Johan. The story shows that Johan's mother was a hairdresser and a volunteer in church until she went blind and insane and began following a cult named Punxsutawney Dog or Dog God. At the cult's headquarters, Mira, Zack, and Johan find the cult had crucified a reporter and grew a unique drug to keep members addicted and faithful. After the friends escape with the reporter, the story is broadcast over the news and the police arrive at the area. They manage to arrest the leader, who was actually the minister of the old church Johan's mom used to attend, and the cult members, including Johan's mom, are put in addiction treatment. Johan disappears after the incident but then reappears many years later, beating Zack in the boxing finals, and then disappears once again with Gunn. Animal Cruelty Chapters 149-152. Through sheer coincidence, Daniel and Johan meet each other one day and find a spark with their love for dogs. Johan also becomes impressed with Daniel's physical performance when they decide to have a friendly race. However, their pets suddenly disappear, and the two team up together to find their dogs. They learn that many pets in the area have disappeared and are aided by a Marine veteran who points them toward an elderly lady who is an animal hoarder. Daniel and Johan manage to release all the hoarded animals, but the legal consequence for animal hoarding was minor, and the hoarder relapsed once again after paying the fines. Xianong goes to Seoul Chapters 158-160. Pricked with guilt, Xianong heads to Seoul to return the money, but ends up getting humorously misunderstood by the Burn Knuckles, common folk, and a dangerous gang who all believe he is causing harm to their respective group. Near the end of the arc, Xianong manages to finally give Vasco the money, but he in turn gives all of it away to a Time Man who wanted to make ends meet in Korea. The Time Man is revealed to be Vasco's teacher and a former undefeated kickboxer who retired and fled after accidentally killing his last opponent. Fake Bank Account Chapters 163-173. Ji-ho once again gets caught in a money problem after he made a bank account in his name and gives it to one of his childhood bullies, James Gong. James Gong sells the account to someone who uses it to scam people out of products on second-hand shopping sites. Ji-ho asks for help, so Daniel, Zoe, Maya, Vasco, Zach, and Kuji help resolve the incident. Later, Ji-ho begins to lose rationality and tries to kill James with a cardboard cutter, but is knocked down by the latter instead. Daniel arrives and holds James Gong back, but Ji-ho's inferiority complex takes over, and he pushes the pair out of the window, wounding James and putting Daniel in a coma. Ji-ho is found guilty and imprisoned for attempted murder in a juvenile facility. The truth behind Daniel Park Chapters 174-177. Daniel panics when the hospital struggles to find Daniel's new body's identity. Hours later, the body is identified as James Lee, a boy whose parents were overseas. Daniel is faced with guilt as he theorizes that the body may have a family of its own, leading Daniel to investigate his body's past. After going on a wild goose chase and finding an abandoned apartment, he locates the school that James Lee apparently attended. He finds a blurry photograph of James's family and ends back at his own apartment. Inside, Daniel is confronted Charles Choi, who orders Daniel to stop looking for James Lee. Charles Choi claims that James Lee was an identity that Daniel created, but Choi's urgency for Daniel to stop looking for James gives Daniel the impression that Charles Choi was lying, and suspects that the chairman of H&H may be hiding something. Juvenile Prison Chapters 180-185. This arc focused on Ji-ho's experiences in juvenile detention and his deteriorating sanity. Chapter 185 was noted to be particularly brutal. Homeless Chapters 191-194. Daniel, unable to change bodies due to his body in a coma, ran away from home. He met a man who did not want to return to his family because he had felt like a burden for being broke. He then helped the man by defending him from thieves who tried to steal the man's savings and reuniting the man with his daughter. Daniel Park vs. Logan Lee Chapters 195-197. Logan forces Zoe to date him, otherwise he would beat up chubby Daniel. Daniel is forced to face his ultimate fear, Logan, to protect Zoe like she had been protecting him. While being beat up by Logan, Daniel realizes that although his life had changed so much after gaining a new body, he had not changed at all. He realized that he kept running away, never stayed back to fight, and always relied on his handsome body to fight his battles for him. He overcame this by getting back up and not running away after Logan's blows. Daniel told Logan to let Zoe go if Logan used his strongest arm to beat him up. Daniel awakens. Chapter 198. Daniel's slim body woke up after the fat one was beaten unconscious by Logan. It was revealed that Jay used his money and power to transfer Daniel to a VIP facility. God Dog Chapters 199-213. God Dog, a gang that was run by Johan, made their move. Some other J-High students were caught in the crossfire between the two gangs. But in the end, Johan was betrayed by his second-in-command, Jin Jang. Jay used his money and power to cover up the incident. Vasco's Crisis/Jace Case Files Chapters 214-217. Gordon Park, the teacher of the architecture department, finds himself in trouble as the Burn Knuckles annoy the principal with their loony ways. He attempts to root out the problem by trying to expel Vasco, and does so by setting him up for stealing a lost wallet full of money. Unconvinced that Vasco stole the wallet, Jace decides to use his detective skills to root out the true culprit. He targets several students who could have been the real culprit: Mr. Park himself, Yui, Zach, Vin-jin, Mary, Logan Lee, and Logan's classmate and follower. As Jace gathers the suspects and tries to find the discrepancies in their testimonies, he ends up uncovering loads of embarrassing information about each person. These included, but were not limited to, Yui's constipation issues, which Zach heard while sleeping in his classroom, Vasco taking laxatives, Logan's crush on Zoe, and Vin-jin secretly idolizing Duke and fangirling his music. As the suspects get cleared, albeit without some major mental recovery, Jace deduces that the wallet's owner was the real culprit, Jasmine Ha, a mythomaniac. Gordon Park ends up just returning it to her and cancels Vasco's punishment. As Jace congratulates himself for solving the case, the suspected students can be seen in the background ready to pounce him. This side story also parodies Kindaichi case files. Stockings chapters 217-219, a story which involved Jasmine Ha once again. She used photos of unsuspecting girls from J-High to sell her own spit, underwear, stockings, and other personal items to those who have olfactophilia for large amounts of money. Mira, Zoe, Joy, and Mary's photos were used in Jasmine's scam. Zach stopped this scam, but a larger problem quickly arose. Runaway Fam chapters 219-231. After the stockings incident, Jasmine ran away to a massive gang named Hostel that was running the fetish market and prostitution scams. Hostel included a branch called the Runaway Fam, consisting of runaways and drifters. Daniel, Zach, Vin-jin, Mary, and Vasco infiltrated the group. Daniel meets two girls nicknamed Like What and So Funny, who ran away from their abusive homes. James Gong joined Hostel, seemingly mentally degraded. Johan Seong's former ally, Jin Jang, joined another large gang called Big Deal and started strengthening the group. The arc ends when Ollie Wang, James, Jasmine, and others escaped, and Illy Jang was eventually found by members of Hostel B, revealing that he is the member of the original Hostel. Illy Jang chapters 232-248. Illy's past was revealed. He ran away to escape the domestic abuse he had constantly faced at home and met Sally Park, an orphan who lived in an abandoned building that she inherited. He lived with her, alongside Warren Key, Derek, and Max. Sally's friends, Heather and Ollie Wang, were frequent visitors, and Illy and Heather soon fell in love. Illy then created Hostel from initials of their Korean names, excluding Ollie Wang's. Hostel was formed from Illy's dream to take in abandoned children and give them better lives on the streets. Jung-gu and Gunn discussed the creation of Hostel. Ollie Wang tricked Heather, who was carrying Illy's daughter, into thinking that Illy did not care for their child and wanted an abortion. Heather eventually died from childbirth, so Illy gave up his dream of expanding Hostel to raise his daughter, Yenna. Hostel disbanded after Heather's death, and Ollie Wang built another branch of Hostel called Hostel A, with his preferences. Ollie and Jin plan to eliminate J-High. Wuthering J-High chapters 250-251, a side story in which both Crystal and Daniel forgot to transform and went to school in their alternate forms. It is foreshadowed that Daniel's original body was gradually turning into his new body. Jin Jang's analysis chapters 252-254. Jin Jang, formerly of Johan Seong's God Dog, went spying on J-High, analyzing the strengths and weaknesses of the strongest J-High students. In the epilogue, Joy plays with her brother's collection of guns while he sleeps. Hostel Branch / One Night chapters 255-263, a story following 3 points of view as the friends go to Chinliang. The first point of view is of Daniel, Joy, Zoe, Zach, Mira, and Crystal in Chinliang. The second is of Jace and Johan in an uneasy alliance against Chinliang gangs allied with Hostile A, and the third is of Vasco and his misadventures in a forest after missing the train. Juvenile Prison Jiho Park Chapters 264-265, a story about Jiho Park and a rehab officer who believed Jiho to be an innocent child and wanted Jiho to get special pardon. In the end, the officer was attacked by Jiho, and the other inmates take the blame for themselves out of fear, showing Jiho's increase of power as his mental state deteriorated. The epilogue was a discussion of which inmates would receive the special pardon, revealed that Jake Kim is one of them. Hostel Chapters 266-283, Daniel, Jay, Zach, and Vasco went to Gangdong to find Jasmine and return her to her father. Vin Jin and Logan went to find the one who used Mary and Zoe's pictures. Illy met another Illy, a kid trained by Ali to act like Illy Jang, and decides to fight Hostile for taking advantage of children. Daniel and Zach fought because Daniel tried to return Jasmine home, but Zach refuses to let Jasmine go after Jasmine had told Zach that her father was a sex offender. Logan and Jay fought because Logan stole Jay's motorcycle and told Jay he was going to beat up Daniel. Vasco and Vin Jin fought because Vasco despised Vin Jin's ill treatment of Duke. This entire fight is anticipated by Jin Jang as he had manipulated the situation carefully for the outcome he wanted. He then sent hostile members to beat up each of the fighting pairs and gather them together. The J-High students and Burn Knuckles are coerced to join forces and fight the hostile members together, and the students eventually end up on the roof of the abandoned building from Sally's childhood See Illy Jang arc. Ali Wang realizes that the only feeling he ever felt was guilt for hurting Heather, so he commits suicide by jumping off the roof. The arc ends with the mourning of Ali Wang, not only by Hostile A, but by the original Hostile and the J-High students as well. Jasmine Ha and James Gong set off to create a new hostel with all of the children that Ali Wang had trained, revealing that she tells the truth about her situation at home to Zach. VS Gunn Chapter 284-286, Gunn appeared with Yenna, provoking Illy. Gunn beats up Illy and tells him that he would have killed him if it wasn't for Ali Wang, making Gunn promise to never harm Hostile B. Illy reveals his backstory to Daniel and his friends. Daniel once again looks for his fit body's true source, but he encounters Gunn when revisiting the abandoned school that James Lee supposedly went to. Gunn demands that Daniel create his own crew, otherwise he would make Daniel's friends start their own crew, which led to Gunn and Daniel fighting after Daniel refused to start a crew and refused to let his friends start a crew. Somewhere else, Charles Choi and Steve Hong were hunting, when Steve Hong implies that he knows about the 4 crews and that the monthly installments they paid went to Choi. Daniel and Gunn's brutal fight comes to an end after Gunn is severely beaten by Daniel in his state of unconscious fighting. Gunn, incredibly impressed with Daniel's fighting, tells him he won't force him to start a crew anymore and that he will let him destroy the 4 crews like Daniel and his friends had originally intended. Gunn also gave Daniel access to 1MCN, a mysterious company run by workers, and revealed that Daniel broke his arm in the fight they had. The story ends with an introduction of 1MCN executive Samuel Co. and Like What and So Funny's C Runaway Fam interview to become a professional streamer. Workers for Affiliates Chapters 287-299. The story begins with a panel of a mukbang streamer named Jamie being forced to stream by a gangster. The panel ends abruptly and cuts to Like What and So Funny's being hired after an interview with Samuel Co. Daniel in his original body begins streaming on 1MCN and shares his experiences of being bullied to viewers who could relate. Daniel goes to J-Fest, a convention of streamers, and meets Samuel Co under the pretense that Daniel wanted to become a paid streamer. Daniel uses the 1MCN keycard given to him by Gunn CVS Gunn to open a secret door found in Samuel Co's office. The secret door leads to a hidden office, which contains a bulletin board of information on the 4 crews and a locked safe. After Daniel, like what, and so funny sign a contract with 1MCN, they wake up in separate, locked rooms where they are forced to stream by gangsters. Daniel disguises his attractive body as a chicken deliveryman after ordering takeout chicken with his original body under the premise of a mukbang as clues to find his original body. Warren Key looks for like what and so funny after Hostel B begins to worry over their disappearance. Daniel got intercepted by Samuel himself. Warren went to J-High to ask Daniel about the two and how to enter 1MCN. They approached Kuji, but the hacker declined their request, interested only on Jay, and they require money to make him follow, which Warren spanked his butt. But Kuji has one clue: the badge that was on Jong Gunn's envelope, which was given to Daniel. The badges have hierarchy: blank gold for mercenaries and legal teams, engraved gold for executives, engraved white for affiliates, and engraved black for VVIPs. The black ones were limited to 5 only, with Jong Gunn, Gu Kim, and other 3 people, and Jong gave Daniel his. Warren and Du Lee went on with Daniel disguised as VVIPs. Were welcomed by Alexander H. Wang himself. Daniel told Du Lee and Warren Key to do their thing, the former to fool around and Warren to find the kids. But Daniel told him to raise a ruckus enough to distract the guards. Daniel was escorted by manager Kim, telling him something a VVIP will ask and more. Eventually, he went to Samuel's office alone, telling the manager to go alone. The manager was confronted by Warren, but was beaten by the former. Daniel saw Jun-gu in the office. But Daniel was blindsided by Gu and was hit by a chair. The fat Daniel, regaining sense, broke through his cubicle with the lock and his fist, revealing that the reason why he eats so much chicken is because of protein. He managed to break out all the streamers, but Mr. Gold was there, unknowingly, that Mr. Gold is actually another gangster in disguise beat him up, revealing that the gangster disguised himself as one of the Quitch Five to reveal who is screwing him. And he accuses Samuel for that. Alexander then shown beating down Samuel, then forgives him after he defeated the intruders himself. But Daniel and Warren entered the room, a former beating up the security gangsters. Alexander confronted the duo personally, confident that he has no evidence of illegal activities and he just stole the black badge. Daniel threw him all the contracts he has to Alexander and Samuel, revealing that the black badge is real and that alone unlocked the safe. Daniel says that workers are disqualified from being the 4 major crews. Alexander called all his security team to corner the duo. Jong Gunn talks while looking at his broken arm, and talks about his black badge being used by somebody else, suspecting that Daniel has a double agent assisting him, but threw his suspicions aside, confident about his skills. Daniel and Warren beat up 2 managers, but had difficulties on the ex-National Security Agency agent, Manager Kim, while Alexander and Samuel are bickering about Jun-gu's visit. Charles Choi, meanwhile, talks with one of the 10 geniuses, Tom Lee, telling him about the illegal moves by the workers. Tom later on confronted Gu while at the site. Tom then goes to the workers' site, single-handedly beating Warren, then stripped his pants. He then beat Daniel unconscious after the latter tried to fight back. Then, Tom took Alexander and Daniel's fat body. Meanwhile, Manager Kim and the two managers returned like what and so funny, in time for Warren's return. Sally scolded him. Days later, Jin Jang and his K-House approached Samuel for a deal, but the tattooed man was in no time for niceties, so he confronted them and trained his new crew. In the epilogue, Jo-han Seong was given food by two former Hostile members when Zack arrived and took a seat near him, and a confrontation between two ensued. B.S. Jo-han Seong Chapter 300-301. Jo-han Seong and Zack Lee once again met and fought each other, while the former Hostile members who run a food stand was watching. In the meanwhile, the masked member of 1MCN Quich 5 was streaming while smoking. Afterwards, the streamer removed the mask, revealing that the streamer is Yui, while she talks with Crystal, owner of the Crystal TV MCN, and also revealing that another MCN was under Crystal's name, Crystal TV. Then, Tom Lee beats up his underlings while Jo-han was on his office. Tom fought him. The old man stripped his clothes. He beats Jo-han with a couch which his hand stuck. Also, the Burn Knuckles were busy fighting with another gang after seeing Vasco with too many wounds and blood. Vin was seen with Mary while the former was pulling a stone marker. Logan was on his classroom, later on going with Gu Kim. Then, Daniel and Samuel has both graphs of four major crew leaders with Jo-han, Illy, Ollie and Jake's pictures in a graph. Daniel using the images he got on Samuel's room while wondering how to deal with them. In the epilogue, Jake Kim was released from juvie and welcomed by his gang members. Jake Kim Chapter 300-318. Now Jake was released. He plans to take revenge on Gunn. And Jake Kim's past was revealed, having fought Samuel to a standstill, and they're trying to mess up Black Bear Clan ends up in near-death experience until Big Deal's leader took them. Then, after many months of running the gang, they were threatened once again, this time from the hands of Gu Kim and Gunn. In the aftermath of the duel between Gu Kim and Sinew Han, which the former won, Gunn called James Lee. After that, the Black Bear Gang tries to fight the duo as a test, but they lost. And much later, Jake and Samuel were treading different paths. Jake quits Big Deal. Samuel became the new head of Big Deal, while using Old Face as front. Gu Kim then meets with James Lee and his group. Days after taking over, Samuel tries to be radical in enforcing his will upon the salesgirls, but Jake appears with Gaprion Kim's clothes. The duel between them was interwoven with his story of Samuel trying to claim Gaprion as his father and his denial of his true father, a technician and repairman. After Jake beats Samuel, Sinew appears. He tries to duel with Gunn but loses. Jake tries to raise money for Jong as a part of Big Deal. But unknown to the Big Deal, Sinew Han sold himself for 1.2 billion won, which the group used to give to Jong's demand for a year. Then, he made an excuse for selling the group to workers and beats Jake for his alibi. Samuel has also fought his way to Jong but lost too. Then, days later, Jake and Samuel meets Jo-han and Ollie respectively. A free-for-all was happening while Jong and Gu were playing cards. Gu won the cards and went to the area where the free-for-all happened and saw Jake and Jo-han knocked out by Samuel. Despite Ollie being persistent, he was garroted by Samuel. Back at the present, Jake and his group meet up with Samuel, now a new member of the workers. The latter left after a short scuffle. Meanwhile, Chairman Hong is with his bodyguards, including a muscular Russian woman named Sophia, who raids Daniel's house. The man tries to pay off the damages to the owner, but Daniel is assaulted by Sophia. At another location, Alexander is bowing to the number 3 of the workers, which oversees a nightclub named Vi Vi. 3 affiliates 319. Jake Kim prepares to infiltrate the workers. Johan is interviewing for his new job as a bouncer at the club. Meanwhile, Daniel is interrogated by Chairman Hong, even offering him food and money to give him info about the 4 major crews. One night, he tries to enter Club Vi Vi with his original body, feeling that he can get in without relying on the slim version of himself, but fails. He contents in loitering outside when a group arrived with a handicapped Chinese-speaking woman with a pacifier in her mouth. They were obviously workers' members, with the men having the engraved gold badge and the woman in engraved white badge. He then meets with Mr. Hong once again, and Sophia roughs him up. Meanwhile, a cleanup crew cleans up a scene where an overdosed woman was seen laying on the toilet. In a bar, Tom Lee is seen with another Vivek worker. Brekdak sets up a stall in front of the club. Vasco joins him as an employee. Their customers are bouncers Jake Kim, and even the woman who nearly collapsed, but was then held by her bodyguard. Jake easily enters the club where Old Face was. He wants info on the area, but is disturbed by Vasco forcefully entering the bar after the woman didn't pay 501. The story is to be continued. Characters. Main characters. Daniel Park / Park Hyung-suk. Daniel Park. Just before transferring to G1 High to run away from his bullies, he wakes up one day with a slimmer and more attractive body next to his chubby one. With his new ability, he makes new friends and learns about the world and himself through 2 perspectives. The slimmer body was based on Park Hyung-suk, a fit model. Vasco / Lee Yoon T. Vasco, from the architecture department, has the reputation of being a Robin Hood-like figure, as he stands up for the weak and bullied. He is one of the strongest characters in the series and is the leader of the loyal gang, Burn Knuckles, who punish bullies and bad guys. His tough exterior is misleading as he is very sweet and seeks the friendship of those he deems as good people. He is also the childhood friend of Jace Park. The character Vasco is inspired by real-life K-rapper with the same name. Jae Hong / Hong Ji-yeol, Jae Hong from the fashion department, is a quiet and mysterious character. He is rich, fights using Systema and Kali martial arts, and helps those that he likes. Though not directly stated, many readers speculate that throughout the series Jay has romantic feelings towards Daniel Park. Some reasons can be seen through his actions, such as keeping a coupon with Daniel's face on it in his wallet. The coupon is from Giant Shop. See fitting model adopting Inu's puppies despite his fear of dogs. See abandoned dog Inu and Jae Hong and Inu's pups, and Jay's habit of giving Daniel his clothing. Chapters 20 and 162. Zach Lee / Lee Jin Sung. Zach Lee, from the fashion department, is a boxer and very aggressive, with the exception to his childhood friend Mira Kim, who he is in love with. He wants to become her boyfriend, but she dislikes violence, so Zach often attempts to change himself for her. With Mira's influence, Zach stops bullying others, diminishes the number of times he gets into fights, becomes more patient, and overall matures. He was once friends with Johan Seong, though Johan disappeared after the God Dog Cult Story Arc chapters 132-138. When Johan resurfaces, Zach tries to befriend him again and even promises to help Johan take revenge on Gunn, who severely beat up Johan for not taking proper control of his crew God Dog. Mira Kim / Kim Mi-jin, Mira Kim, from the fashion department, is a compassionate, caring, and patient person. She is very observant when it comes to human emotions and sees the good in everyone. She dislikes fighting and believes there are better ways to solve problems, which is why she gets upset when Zack gets into fights. She is the childhood friend of Jo-han Seong and Zack Lee. They both were in love with her, but she never exactly reciprocated to either them. She is very attractive and beautiful, which put her at the risk of rape multiple times. Zoe Park/Park Ha-newell, Zoe Park, from the fashion department, is a beautiful girl who, in the beginning, tries to use her charm to get what she wants. However, after Daniel's original body saves her from a stalker, she develops feelings for his original body, proving that she doesn't care about appearances as much as before. Crystal Choi/Choi Soo-jung, Crystal Choi, the daughter of the H&H Company chairman, is the second character that is discovered to have two bodies. She first appears as an obese student that transfers to the fashion department in Daniel's school. Yet, unlike Daniel Park, Crystal Choi chooses to live in her original body during the daytime. This shows that she feels a hint of pride in her first body. The different treatment to both of her bodies leads her to strongly believe that all men are the same, and that the world judges those with different appearances without reason. This explains her initial dislike towards Daniel in his handsome form, though her treatment of Daniel shows her hypocrisy as she treats him badly and looks at him as an egotistical bully. She is shown to like Daniel's old body more due to his personality. Supporting characters. Daniel's mother/Mrs. Kim Park. Daniel's single mother is a hard-working and patient woman. After seeing Logan bully Daniel and later getting yelled at by her son, she transfers Daniel to G1 High. She works twice as hard to allow Daniel to enter J High, with the work ranging from folding and selling empty boxes to working part-time waiting tables. She sacrifices everything for her son to see him happy and contented. This leaves her with no free time and she never gets to do anything for herself. As the series progresses, Daniel begins to realize how much his mother cared for him, and little by little, he returns her sacrifices. Jace Park/Park Bum-ji, a student of the architecture department. Jace is the number 2 of the Burn Knuckles and childhood friend of Vasco. He is the one who helped Vasco overcome his agemophobia and even got a tattoo that said "My hero ET standing for Unti. Duke Pyeon/Pyeon Duck HWA, a short and chubby student from the vocal dance department and an aspiring rapper. Due to his body, he was bullied by others and rejected by producers. But upon meeting and collaborating with Daniel, he gained confidence and started to stream on Paprika TV. He also becomes a member of PTJ Entertainment when he was brought along by Daniel through his insistence and was part of the party that freed Arrow. Afterwards, Daniel helped Duke become a member of PTJB rank, and Duke became famous for his rapping ability despite his body size. Ji-ho Park/Park Ji-ho, a boy who faced much bullying at J-High, till Daniel took him under his wing. Throughout the series he is obsessed with power and societal standards. Ji-ho also showed signs of an inferiority complex and eventually goes to juvenile prison for the attempted murder of Daniel Park and James Gong. During the juvenile arc, he loses his sanity in juvenile prison and becomes influenced by Jake Kim. Interestingly, Ji-ho's life is of stark contrast to Duke. Even though both were bullied and looked down upon, Ji-ho decides to bet on risky decisions and never changes his behavior or perspective throughout the webtoon. Logan Lee/Lee Tae-sung, a strong, large teen who used to bully Daniel Park frequently in his former school and original body. Logan was the primary reason why Daniel moved to Seoul. Unfortunately, Logan also moved to Seoul and coincidentally entered the same school as Daniel. Daniel later stands up to Logan in his original body, and the two become somewhat neutral with each other, although one could make the case that Logan still hates Daniel since he harbors romantic feelings towards Zoe, who is amusingly enamored by both forms of Daniel. Logan now resides in the animation department. See Troubled Transfer Arc. Jin Ho Bin, an arrogant member of vocal dance department. He claims that he's better than everyone else and particularly dislikes Daniel and Duke. Never takes off his sunglasses. He has a fear of losing his shades, revealing that he becomes berserk once they are removed. He also seems to have inverted eyes with his shades gone, similar to Gunn, Gu, and later Daniel Mary Kim. Mary is a blonde-haired girl who is friends with Vin Jin and is a student of the vocal and dance department. She is quite pretty and well known in Chinliangher and Vin Jin's hometown as the Empress of 2 Seconds because she is great at fighting, and many of her peers claim that she can defeat her opponents in 2 seconds. She also has a strange fascination with Jace's ears. Yui Kim, introduced during Paprika TV streaming arc, she was the leading streamer on the website, till Zoe joined. During the story arc, her boyfriend finds out from Zach that she had been flirting with Daniel, which causes him to start beating Yui until the scene is interrupted by Zach. This causes her to develop feelings for Zach. Tae-joon Park, introduced in the Attention Whore arc. Park is from the architectural department. He was a fame whore who taunted a gangster named Shin Di-hoon in work shoots. During the story arc, Park and Do Lee are eventually caught, Hoon and his gang. They are released by Vasco, Zach, and Daniel after a brief fist fight. He shares the same name as the author and PTJ Entertainment. Leon Lee, a freshman from the architectural department. Initially mysterious, she is eventually revealed to be a girl, though she convinces everyone in J-High that she is a boy. It is implied that she has feelings for Vasco and seems to hold a tsundere-like personality around him. Joy Hong Ji-High, Jay's little sister, and a Boki model. When she first met Daniel in his handsome body during model arc, she immediately developed a crush. Joy later entered J-High to see Daniel more often. Nam Soo Lee, one of the nerdy classmates, he was initially tasked by Zach to buy shoes for him, but when he tried to obtain the shoes, it ended up being scam. After the issue was settled, he bought a chrome hearts ring and started a rumor that Daniel was poor and had no fashion sense, which led to Jay giving Daniel a bunch of expensive clothes. David, Dylan, and Sarah Park, Daniel's cousins. Dylan is a wannabe rapper and Duke's fan. David is a college student who is the star of the Park family. Sarah is Dylan's sister, who has a crush on Daniel Park's handsome body. Hong Kai-T, Jay's older brother and the head of H Group. Samuel Seo, initially alluded to be Jake Kim's half-brother, later confirmed not related, also one MCN executive. Gunn hired him to oversee Workers' CN until its downfall. He later meets up with the newly formed K-House. Alexander H. Wang, president of Workers' fourth affiliate, and a longtime friend of Samuel. After MCN disbandment, he goes missing. Like What and So Funny, two girls who ran away from their troubled homes and joined the Runaway Fam, a branch of Hostel A. They were forced into prostitution scams by their Runaway Fam and later joined Hostel B, as it was a more stable and was a non-abusive environment. In fear that they would be kicked out of Hostel B if they didn't earn money, as this frequently happened in some Runaway Fams, they began streaming on 1MCN for money. Warren Key, one of Hostel's original member. He and Sally went looking for Illy after he went off the grid. He is known as the Gangdong's mighty Warren Key and often speaks in broken and missing sentences. Illy Jang / Jang Hyun, beauty department's only male member. He is the single father of a baby girl named Yenna, the daughter of his teenage sweetheart Heather. Gunn had his eyes on him for his fighting prowess, but also because Illy created the original hostel. Sally Park, one of the hostel's original members, she is looking for Illy after he went missing. During the Illy Jang arc, she is shown to be an orphan who lives in an abandoned building that she inherited from her grandmother in America. She is usually seen with Warren Key, Max Kang and Derek Joe, two of the original hostel members. The two are currently tteokbokki dealers and club promoters. Ali Wang, former member of the original hostel, but created another one called Hostel after the original disbanded due to his manipulation and play in Heather's death. James Gong, formerly Jiho's psychotic bully, who loved wounding his enemies and doing dirty actions. He duped Jiho by selling a bank account Jiho made for him and was pushed out of a building window along with Daniel. He survived the incident, but became more and more mentally insane afterwards. Jasmine Ha, Daniel's classmate and a mythomaniac. In a side story, she initially accused Vasco of stealing her purse, then scammed fetishists with used items, lying that it belonged to Joy, Zoe, Mira, and Mary. After the fiasco, she disappeared, joining James Gong and eventually Ollie Wang's hostile aid due to her father's abusive nature. She left home and now lives with James and the child soldiers Ollie trained. Johan Seong, Zach and Mira's childhood friend. He was always bullied because he was poor and his mother was becoming blind. He had a crush on Mira, felt embarrassed as he was always beat up by his peers and rescued by Zach. During the cult arc, his mother's mental state deteriorated and a local church minister persuaded her to join the God Dog cult. After the story arc, Johan abandoned all those he cared about and took over one of the four major crews, God Dog, taking the cult's mascot as his own. He asked Daniel to join him, but was turned down and his own crew betrayed him. Gunn appeared and disqualified Johan after berating him for losing control of his crew and later beats him up after Johan refused to back down. He appeared later in the webtoon again, aiding Jace in Chinliang, getting into a small fight with Jin, and witnessing the end of Hostel A afterwards. Johan joins the White Tiger Job Center under Tom Lee. Jong Gunn / Jang Dong Gunn. Jong Gunn is Crystal Choi's gangster bodyguard who used to extort money from the various groups. He has reverse-colored eyes and is arguably the most ruthless fighter in the webtoon. Gunn also used to manage several gangs called the Four Crews in Seoul before passing the job on to Jun-gu. Throughout the series, Gunn shows signs of sadomasochism. Jun-gu / Gu Kim, introduced during Vasco's arc. Gu is a fighter who frequented juvenile centers. After a massive and brutal fight, he became Jong Gunn's equal and is in charge of Jong Gunn's extortion racket. Jake Kim. Jake Kim is the leader of a Seoul's major crew called Big Deal and is an excellent fighter. He was put in juvenile prison for an illegal betting ring and later became influenced by Jiho's dirty fighting style in juvie. Jerry Kwon. Jake Kim's number 2, also known for his strength as the Sword of Jake Kim. Jin Jang, formerly Johan's lieutenant, but betrayed his friend. He starts spying on Jae-hai, and heeded a plot to put various students against each other. He also goaded Illy and Ollie to fight, which dismantled Hostel A. Afterward, he revived his K-House crew from the fallen God Dog. Fuji / Ko Woo-jai, another one of H&H Chairman's minions. As a genius hacker, he duped the illegal Toto operators and hacked the security feed of the store that Daniel works at. Charles Choi, Crystal's father and the chairman of H&H Group. It is revealed that he worked at a convenience store years ago until he was recruited by Gunn to be the leader of the four major crews. Steve Hong, Kai T. Joy, and Jae's father and chairman of H Group. He has known Charles Choi for many years, but it is implied that the two are not friends. Later in the webtoon, Hong becomes Daniel's secret ally to take down the four crews. Gigi, a K-pop talent of PTJ, later CEO of the agency, and one of Charles Choi's 10 geniuses. It is implied throughout the story that he knows of Daniel's ability. He was modeled after G-Dragon. Oliver Jang/Jang Yudon/Wudong Jang, PTJ trainee talent for 6 years and ARU former boyfriend. Oliver was stuck as a C-rank trainee alongside La Sol because of ARU bias against them. Near the end of the PTJ Entertainment arc, Oliver debuts in a new group called In Spirit. La Sol/Raw Sol, another PTJ trainee talent and ARU former best friend. She was stuck as a C-rank trainee alongside Oliver Jang due to ARU bias against them. Later, Sol becomes PTJ resident, a rank trainer. Aru, formerly Oliver's girlfriend and a PTJ main star. She was caught in a casting couch by a major PTJ investor in her desperation to become famous, but was saved. Tom Lee, one of Charles Choi's 10 geniuses, and the owner of the private security agency that one MCN has. It is stated that Tom Lee trained both Gunn and Gu. Justine Peng and Chuck Kwak, two illegal Chinese immigrants initially rejected by Jake Kim, but later accepted by Ollie Wang. After the Hostel arc and destruction of Hostel A, they built up a skewer store and witnessed Johan and Zach fight each other. Theme. The title is self-explanatory of the theme, lookism, or bias due to a person's physical appearance. The main character is a fat, unattractive student who is bullied by those stronger than him. The story also has themes including, but not limited to, gangs, extortion, animal hoarding, cults, stalking, rape, and attempted murder. Character designs. Daniel Park's design was inspired by a model named Park Hyung-seok. The creator of the manhwa is Park Tae-joon, another model. Adaptations. In 2019, Tencent produced the 38-episode Chinese television series Wai Mao Zhai Shangzhuyi Wei Mao Zhi Shangzhuyi, based on the manhwa Lookism, starring Park Solomon, Wayne Zhang, Wang Zai Xuan, and Dino Lee as the main characters.